The BIPOC Coach Collective proudly presents Elevate and Celebrate. This is a podcast to showcase our members, dive deeper into their journeys, and express who they are into the world. Our mission is to curate a brave and authentic space for coaches to connect and to elevate our voices globally in the coaching profession. Learn more about us at bipocCC.org. Your story matters, your voice matters. Let's start the show. Welcome to the very first episode of Elevate and Celebrate. I am your host for this episode. My name is Alex Dumas. I'm the Vice President of the BIPOC Coach Collective, and my guest is the President of the Collective. Her name is Reem Labib Tyson. And let me tell you a little bit about her. She's the CEO and the founder of Inspired Coaching and Consulting, which was established in 2010. Inspired partners with mission-driven leaders and organizations to achieve personal and professional impact. And she brings 20 years of K-12 leadership experience encompassing roles including head of schools, superintendent, school principal, deputy director of professional development, leadership coaching, and project management, as well as 10 plus years as an entrepreneur. But the most important things about Reem is that she's a loving wife and a mother. And in 2020, she founded this collective, which I've been a part of, and numerous coaches of color around the world have joined up with and continue to get so much value from. So in this episode, we dive into a little bit about her origin story, about what she envisioned for the collective, where we're going next, and even some of the challenging times where she wanted to give up, where she wanted to just relinquish control and release any affiliation with the collective, but kept going. And what we find in this space is that she's a master connector. She's somebody who knows how to lead from the heart and has an artist's mind as far as how to create people, how to serve people, how to make a difference. And you're going to find out so much about her that even I, who've known her for a couple of years, didn't even know. So I want you to tune in, tap in. This is going to be an exciting, fun conversation. You're going to get to learn and see so much about Reem, and hopefully there's something about yourself that you see in this conversation. So all that said and done, let's elevate and celebrate Reem Labib Tyson. Yay! Welcome to episode number 1 of Elevate and Celebrate. And I'm joined by the founder, the President, Lady President, Reem Labib Tyson. Great to see you again.
Hey, Alex.
Hey. So my number one question, I think everyone else's question in the world who's going to be watching this is, this BIPOC Coach Collective starting in July 2020. Why? Why do such a thing? Why start such a venture or mission?
A movement.
A movement, yes.
So, thanks for having me.
Yeah, softball questions, right? I'm just teeing up
like. No, it's good. So, I completed my coaching program in December 2019. Launched this sort of new side of my business 3 months before the pandemic. And as I was really new in this space, it wasn't until I would say, a couple months into the pandemic, just, you have a lot of time to think and ruminate. And I really realized that I didn't bring my whole self to my program. And I have to be honest, my work experience up until now has been that of, I have been like immersed and surrounded by people of the global majority. I worked in schools for my entire career in DC. So between, having very ethnically diverse staff and students, it wasn't my experience to be in this space that I found myself in my coaching program. And I realized that there was a lack of ethnic and racial diversity. I realized that the first day when I walked into class, which shouldn't be a big deal, but it did strike me as different. I also noticed that there was like the power of language that was used. I quite frankly felt very much of an imposter the way I was being taught. And I would push back and say, well, I don't speak like that. Like, what are some other ways. And it was sort of shared with me, it's whatever makes sense to you. But then I felt like I wasn't going to meet the markers if I didn't say things in a certain way.
Mm,
And so in saying all that, and also just like the text that we read, the videos that we would see, I mean, everything was very much through, I would say, a singular lens or through the dominant lens. And so the thing that really pushed me over the edge, if you will, was I was speaking to a company based out of Australia, and they said that it was hard to find colored coaches.
mm, huh. That's really interesting.
So I took that as as a challenge. Quite frankly, I was shocked, and I didn't actually have a good response to that because I was very caught off guard. And so that conversation, I would say, ended pretty quickly. And then I said, okay, well, if you can't, I can. And I put together a Google Doc and just put it out first to my network within my coaching program, and just sort of started to sprinkle around. Really, the idea was like an affinity space, looking for 8 or 10 people that are professional coaches, that just to talk shop, to like feel, I was like, there has to be a group of folks that would want to do this and that would just maybe have a different perspective.
Mhm.
And fast forward, all of a sudden people started signing up for this thing, and there was no thing. So I really, I think it was, I guess that was July 2020, and just started having meetings and having people gather and just start to get to know one another. And that's, I mean, there's a lot more to it, but I'll pause there and just see.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great space to break that off. I mean, that's so powerful, right? You having this experience with that one particular company and then not having awareness or not having available any resources like, coaches of color, and then the idea sparks, right? I love that process of it of there's nothing there. I go in creation mode and you create something. And it's definitely exploded beyond way beyond what you thought it would be at the start, right? That's really funny for me to hear, like, oh yeah, it's gonna be nice, 8, 10 people. Like, we have hundreds at this point as we're recording this, and we'll be inviting and accepting more people into it as we move forward. But yeah, I think that's a good place, and I'm kind of curious about going back to the beginning, like, what's created Reem? Like, what's been your experience and what got you into coaching, really?
So I come to the coaching space. My background's in education, so I've been working in K-12 education ever since I came out of undergrad. Um, so I started out in the classroom as a teacher. I served as a school principal. I left the country for a year, taught overseas, came back, found myself in a leadership role that I think I was pretty unprepared for, but we. Um, and so I found myself in a position where I had left the school setting. I was working at a district level. I was making a lot more money and I had like very limited responsibility. So you'd think it would be great.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel right. Like the place I was in, I was like, this isn't the right place for me. Um, and I knew that on the first day. And I ended up staying there for a year, but I really tripped and fell into consulting. I was sort of asked to do some consulting work, just around like school improvement, school quality, and just started doing that. And this was July 2010. So I guess July seems to be like a very pivotal month for me. Um, and I just remember thinking part of the reason I also started my company Inspired was that was, I know things happen and I think we're there again, but the teacher bashing and just like negativity around education was very um, apparent at that time. And my purpose really was, how can we celebrate those stories of people that are doing the work and those schools that are doing the work and students that are succeeding, because there was too much of that negativity that was being put out. And also, quite frankly, is I wanted to partner with people in schools that had urgency, whether or not I was with working with them. And I don't mean that, sarcastically, but really there were times where I would say, well, how come I'm the one who has all this urgency? And,
Mm,
so it allowed me to have choices on who I got to partner with. And so from that time, since 2010, the work really shifted to mostly leadership coaching. So school principals, executive directors, project management with schools, and also doing a lot of school quality reviews.
mm,
And
okay.
so that, I've pretty much been coaching since I was in a leadership role, even probably before that, right? Because coaching is just really around helping people get to where they want to go, in my opinion. And so it wasn't until I went through this program. Part of it, quite frankly, was I really needed a new conversation. I was like, I really want to see if how to support people that I don't know their content, I don't know their work.
Mm,
Um, I actually purposefully didn't take on education clients in my program. And I was just fascinated about how you could really hold space for people. And, you don't go into problem solving mode as much because you really don't know their work.
right. That's interesting. I like that. Right. Expanding beyond, the comfort of, yeah, I know this sector. It would be an easy check, right,
Yeah.
to just come collect that. But I like that idea of stretching and challenging yourself. Of I don't know this industry. I don't know this profession. I get to learn it. I get to find out about them and get to really be with them. So cool. I salute you for that. So going back to the collective right now, right? There's a lot of things that have happened these last 2 years. I mean, I'm curious for you, like, what's been something that has been unexpected for you as far as like your growth as a leader, personally, professionally, like what have you learned about yourself, just with this movement so far?
It's a good question. I mean, I think I've learned a lot. It surely has affirmed the things that I enjoy doing, and the things that I don't enjoy, or it's just not my gift. So when I first put this together, like I can bring the people to the party. And I mean, when I had a role in college, I was a social coordinator with my friends because they're like, where are we going? What are we doing? That sort of has served me as an adult in a different way. But really just, being able to sort of build community. And from the first start of this I was like, this isn't about me. And I mean, this was never like about me for me. Like, yes, for me, because I wanted to be in community. I just really wanted a place, to have people sort of gather around, and I wanted to learn from and with people. Um, and really that's what brought this together. And I think too, there was times where I was ready. I was like, okay, I'm ready to retire. It's not fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very lucky. I had been working with Gwen, for quite some time initially on this. And then we both have different gifts in different areas. And I was very lucky to finally, I think, find, or maybe you all found me. I'm not sure, like, how we sort of made this, really just being able to put together, I think, the right team, to be able to serve this community in the right way. And so partnering with you, partnering with Kibi, um, where everybody has their different areas of expertise, also the things that they like to do, and things that where like there's things I don't like to do. I'm just really grateful that that's not my charge right now.
Yeah. I think, and that's an interesting thing. I was going to bring that up too, because I think it also goes to show the other side of what it's like being a leader, where it might be draining, it might be a bit exhausting, and you did have that moment. I forget when it was. We were like, I'm kind of ready to like hang this up. I'm kind of ready to just close the doors on this. And my thought is, why? Why didn't you do that? Why? What made you stay committed to this?
Well, I think it's really hard for me to remember dates at this point, but it was the summer that people were getting out and about again. So was that 2022? Or
Yeah,
was
yeah, maybe 2022 or 2021. It was, yeah,
okay. I'm with you. I don't remember.
yeah,
But I remember that it was one of those things where we put up a post that says, sort of like, enjoy your summer. We're checking out for the summer.
Right.
And that actually felt really good to me because there were other things I also was like, everyone just needs a pause. And I think what I realized too was, I was putting so much time, energy, and effort into this where I was like, I got to work on my business or
Yeah.
there's not going to be a business. Um, and so it was hard for me to sort of reconcile like how much effort do I sort of keep putting in this community when I also have my own responsibilities. Um, but that break felt really good. And I just didn't know that I was giving 110% anymore. And that's why I feel like for me, the way I function is if I can't give 100% to something, then I don't feel good about doing it.
Right.
So that's kind of where I was just like, maybe, someone else can take this over, or maybe I can just, I don't know, throw it out there to someone else. Maybe it just dies a slow death. I wasn't really sure where it was going with it.
Well, I could say personally that this thing is not dying, not going away, because we have some amazing individuals who consistently show up for our monthly gatherings, and now we've increased that to uh, more trainings, right? More facilitations, and just leaving people with more value wherever they're, whatever stage they are in business, right? If they're just starting out and kind of tiptoeing entering this coaching world, or they've been seasoned and now they want to be able to resharpen things and just get some new tools. So I love what has been happening over these last, obviously, 4 or 5 months. And I say this every meeting. I'm like, wow, every meeting it keeps getting better and better. The people are more engaged and more excited, more enthusiastic. So this year, as we're recording this 2023, I think there's going to be some huge opportunities for growth and development. So I'm kind of curious for you. You are the visionary in this space, right? What are you seeing for this year and moving forward, or what would you like to see with the collective?
Yeah. So, when it first launched, if you will, in that summer, um, I really wanted to put down like a proper mission. And I really feel like the mission has stayed the same. And the mission of the BIPOC Coach Collective really was to create a brave and authentic space for coaches to connect and to elevate our voices globally in the coaching profession. Um, and with that, when I said about just like bringing people together in community, it was just really one, to have a space for people to come together, to gather, to share opportunities, to get opportunities, to share expertise, and then really amplifying our voices. Because again, anytime I get an email about coaching, see something on social media, it's mostly again from that very same dominant culture lens, even if the person presenting is not necessarily from that dominant culture. And so, and I want to be part of that. I mean, this is the work that I'm choosing to do right now. I still do my education work, but if I'm in this path, I was like, I'm going to make this work for me. Because I did have that huge imposter syndrome where I was like, okay, when I think of an executive coach, I don't think about someone who looks like me.
Mm,
And so that's why, that was important to me. And then I think regarding the goals have also stayed the same, which were really, what I shared before around the global community. So no, we don't just want to be a domestic community, which we're actually not. We do a few people, a small percentage of people right now that live outside of North America. And really would like that to become, that's I think what I would like one of our differentiators to be, is that we are global. Sharing the resources and opportunities and celebrate and elevate is really important to me. And what that really looks like is sort of like what we're doing now, but making sure we're highlighting what members are doing, what members are publishing, what members are sharing, and just really making sure that like they're doing that for themselves, but that we're also doing that for them as well. Because I think too, then other people start to like hear about you, learn about you, learn about your work. So I think it's that part's just very important to me. I think also because in this work, many people are solo practitioners, and so they don't necessarily get that in the same way they would if they were employed by somebody else.
Yeah. It's a old adage that coaching can be a very lonely profession, and coaching consultant, whatever, right? It's you're on your own island, and what I love that you've been able to do is be this master connector of pulling people in from all these different areas, right? Someone like myself, and there's so many names I can't get into it. So if I'm ignoring you or I'm not saying your name, sorry, don't take it personal. But you know who you are, as far as the difference and impact that you make in this space and in business as well. And it's kind of like this pot, right? It's like jambalaya. There's this hodgepodge of people, and but we all have this similar experience or feeling of, what, maybe we haven't belonged in some places, right? Or if you look at a social media advert, right? It's like, oh, there's like that one token one on a conference
And the
poster,
pictures.
right? It's like, oh, there's that one, there's a two, maybe it's a woman, maybe it's a man, like you never know. And what about us? Well, we can build our own table. Why worry about what's happening on this feast over here? There's plenty of food, there's everything available to us whenever we want. And if making a commitment to unify, right? Now we see the strength in numbers, and you see what's come out of it, like just in these 2 years, right? Here we are with these facilitation things, the network meetings are still going strong, and then just these different ideas of what we're going to be unveiling very soon for with different membership ideas and group coaching and buddy coaching and mentorship and all these things that are supportive. So I want to just, this is the flower moment, right? So receive it right now. Bow down to the Queen Reem of, just
Oh, I
giving you
should
your
get my
flowers.
crown.
Yeah, we're the sad plant. We got to give the sad plants flowers.
I still have my crown from Halloween.
You still got it? See, we do silly things like this, but no, but all time to get
Right,
serious,
I'll
man.
save my crown for another episode.
Yeah. No, maybe I'll be the episode art. You can like hold it up and just like ding, like that. No, but this has just been a magnificent thing you've created here. So I'm always in the mind of like, man, like the mind of it. Like, did you even think that something like this would be happening where so many people would just be flooding in and raising their hands, kind of recognizing like, yeah, I want a space for me. Like whether it's whatever dark shade, whatever shade of color you are, but recognizing, yeah, I've been ignored, I've been underserved, I've been trying to climb uphill on this mountain. It's like, well, there's another one right here we can build.
I mean, I think what thankfully happened for me quickly was I had to sort of remind myself that, yes, I'm a beginner, right, at
Mhm.
coaching. Like I was certainly on that like learning edge. And I was also a professional with a lot of experience. And so I wasn't going to put myself in that deficit space where I was going to try to be it really was one of those things that for a while it messed with me, not that long, but long enough that when I was like, wait a minute, and I was like, I don't have to do this the way other people do it. And something that, again, I know I mentioned this before, but I just, going back to when I say the power of language, I mean, I have worked um, in in education for so long, and what's always been important to me is um not marginalizing people with language that we use, because in all industries we have acronyms and we sometimes talk like textbooks or encyclopedias. I'm sure that ages me and I don't care. But also, like, what's the purpose of that, and how does that really serve the person that's in front of you, aside from trying to make the speaker look a certain kind of way? And so one thing I always tell people is like, what you'll notice in this conversation, what you'll notice in pretty much any conversation we have, or even me as a coach, is that I'm going to show up very authentically, but also like very casually, because I don't want to create space between us, by using language that feels like it's creating, a rift or space, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that's always been my experience of you. Very warm, professional, strong, but also like this funny, like kind of quirky side is like, all right, she's human. She's relatable, she's personable. That's cool, and also decisive and direct with what you want to create. And I think that checks all the boxes with good people in my world that I love to have with me. So I'm gonna do a quick little fun lightning round thing because this just popped into my head. So
I'm
I act as I think, right? So
ready.
what would you say is your greatest strength and has helped you with your success so far?
Um, it's is this a lightning round meaning I have to give a quick response, or do I tell you a little anecdote?
Go for it. You're the queen.
Yeah, no.
Just dream the dream. Like I'm over here just nah.
Okay, so wait, so the question was, what's my superpower? Is that the
Yeah, yeah. What's your superpower? What's the strength that's been
yeah.
reason why you've been so successful?
Um, and I wish I had this language years ago, but I think one of my gifts is I always would say I my first experience um teaching is that I worked at a school that we taught through the arts. And we served students who learned differently. And so, we had a lot of people who had different arts backgrounds or arts experiences that they could give kids. And people would always ask me, like, oh, are you an artist? And I would say no. And so finally I was like, well, my art is people. And I shifted that to say that like my gift is working with people. And so I take that with me because I think that now I have better language to express that. But I also, as a leader, is just being able to show up authentically and be vulnerable and hold space for people. But I'm very um, I have like very high empathy, and I think that that really um, supports people in being able to feel sort of safe and be able to grow. Um, so I would say that would be, and also bringing people together around a common purpose, where I never want to be like, I'm not, okay, yeah, I founded this, but I didn't create this alone. This was never about me. So really just I think that like servant leadership, if there's a better word for it now, happy to list that too.
No, I mean I think those are pretty key ingredients for anything to be successful, and especially in the coaching space, right? Loving people, finding their gifts, helping them expand that, being empathetic, being able to relate and connect, and obviously the connection piece of how do I not even how, but being intentional about bringing people into a place where they feel safe. And that's what I've always experienced. And anyone I would say who's been a part of the collective, who've attended meetings, who've interacted with you or anyone else on the leadership team has related that of, yeah, I feel safe here. I feel seen. This is an okay place for me to be me. And that hasn't always been the case, I think, for uh, us coaches of color. So once again, flowers for Reem.
I
And
mean,
then this I'll do that to like stretch you too because I know like that can also make you a little uncomfortable. But you know what? I want you to receive it too because it's well deserved.
thank you. Well, and when you said we were going to do this, I was like, do I have to do it? Because I like to be behind the scenes. But I appreciate you pushing me to share. I mean, it's important.
Yeah. And another lightning round question. So, what are some fun facts or fun things that we would not know that you do or that you enjoy?
So I okay, so what I think about like sometimes I think about my world in like buckets. But the things I enjoy sort of outside of coaching. So I'm a parent, I'm an educator. Like once an educator, always an educator. It doesn't ever leave you, even if you try. And so I did start, my son is 6 now. And my family is multicultural, multi-faith, multilingual. And I say my family, like my husband, my son, and I, that I'm sort of starting there. And
Yeah.
I, again, don't feel like there's a space that was created to explore that. I know there are a lot of different people that are doing it, but I also just didn't feel like there was like one right place for us. And so I did start an Instagram page to just explore like an American family with roots from Egypt, Louisiana, living in DC. Um, and I really, at some point, I'd love to write a children's book or two or three, um, being able to sort of share those experiences where the differences are not the main purpose of that story, but that they're included in the story. So children's literacy and just also just inclusive literature is something that I'm very interested in. I buy a lot of books, but I also now we go to the library to look at just different books, and I'll read them and honestly read them with a critical lens. Where like he did check out a book from school, and I questioned it because it was a book I read to my children when I taught first grade many moons ago, but I also didn't have the knowledge or the access to know that the story was told from a perspective that wasn't great.
Right.
I'm saying that very simply to say that. So I Googled it just to see like what what is happening here, because it didn't sit right with me. And it really turns out that I was like, this is not a great text. So I asked the
Mm.
library, how do you vet these books and what is the policy and how do parents get involved? So I think maybe something that people do know, but sort of sharing that is like, I think I'm an advocate and I'm always pushing. Sometimes I think I push too much, but I also feel like it's not me, then who? But really that's a very deep interest of mine, is that I was not ever seen. I never saw myself in books. I never saw myself in magazines. I never saw myself on TV. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there was no
Yeah.
representation of me or my family. And so I just want that to be different for my child and for other children. But that's where I'm starting, because
Yeah. Yeah. It's a personal thing. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that. So
yeah. So I'm
I
happy to
can,
share the IG with you.
yeah, I get to learn some new things. That's awesome. So as we get close to wrapping this up, I want to make sure that we leave no stone unturned. Is there anything that you wanted to say that you haven't shared yet or expressed yet?
I think I think that if people are interested in joining us and what we're doing, there is a place for everybody, no matter what sort of stage they're at, or also like how much or how little they want to sort of be involved in this way. That you can come as an observer, you can come as a presenter, you can come, just sort of as you are when you feel like being in community or don't feel like being in a community. We have a lot of different ways to be able to include people in what we're doing. And we have a lot of ways that we haven't thought of yet. And so I think for anybody who is like, oh, I really wish we could do this, just tell us, because we probably haven't thought of that yet. I mean, thankfully I have a lot more brains working with me, but like we can always use more. I think that as we grow, I sort of really also envision like we have people in different places. So there'll be like smaller communities around the country and, globally. And I think we can also expand, there's people who maybe coach, but maybe do a lot more consulting. But really, I just want it to be a place where folks can just come and check out what we're doing and, probably not leave because it feels right. And that's what we
Yeah.
keep hearing from people. Well, this feels like home, or this feels comfortable. And that's always been my, what's important to me is that like, I don't want you to feel out of place when you show up.
Yeah. I think that's where we close it out. That's a wonderful way to express that. So thank you. Thank you for not only what you're doing, but obviously the most important thing is like who you're being someone who's an advocate for people, a stand for people, and also an inviter, an enroller. This is a safe place, right? The door's open and you can show up as you are. And I think that's been probably the number one thing that has been the difference between people just continue to show up and show up because to get so much more out of this. And even for the people that show up once, they're away for a while, they come back.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why, because there's just something magnetic about this environment, this community, and you know, do whatever my part is to help this expand. So I just want to thank you again.
Thanks, Alex. I'm glad you encouraged me to. I didn't say push. I'm glad we continue to do this. I think it's important. And hopefully for people that don't know us yet, we'll just really see that like we are being very sincere in what we're saying. Because the minute it feels like we don't know people and it's not a community is also when I would want to retire again. Retire.
Yeah. So we want to get to know y'all, folks. We can get to know what you're up to in the world. So, come follow along, bipoccc.org. That's the place to find us, to connect with us. And if you're interested in learning more about the community, follow us on LinkedIn, or join the community on LinkedIn and join the community on Facebook. And we share a lot of opportunities, a lot of different things to help people grow, expand their businesses. And there's so many people here to collaborate with that are awesome, they're impressive, and they're also human, right? It's not this pedestal, this mountaintop of how do I talk to them? Just we speak, we use our words, power of language, right?
You can tell that we're both parents.
use your big boy words, use your big girl words. But that's it. Anyway,
Thanks,
stay
Alex.
tuned. Yeah, you're welcome. Stay tuned, y'all, to the next episode. Stay blessed.
Thanks for watching this episode. If you got value from this, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. And feel free to connect with us at bipoccc.org. See you next time.